There are 3 keys for people to keep wealth from generation to generation. I've covered the first 2 keys of the family legacy rings. Without 3 critical things, no family will keep and hold on to their money from generation to generation. But without ring 3, it will certainly collapse. See, in ring 1, it's having good family traditions and strong family values, even something called a family constitution written in your own words. But if nobody's actually coordinating the money, the strategy, and there isn't a financial team, it all falls apart. It all goes away. Think about it, you wouldn't hire 4 doctors who never looked at the same chart. That's exactly what most people do with their money. If you've got financial professionals who don't talk to each other, that burden lands on your shoulders. And you already feel overwhelmed by the number of things you manage around your finances and your life, you're in the right place because you're not alone. This is almost everyone. I'm going to show you the real reason most financial teams fail. What a coordinated team actually finds when they look at the whole picture. And a financial strength builder test you can run with your spouse this week. I've spent over a quarter of a century building financial teams for entrepreneurs so they can keep way more than money they make. And years ago, I got to spend time with Sheila. She's the CPA for the Rockefeller family office. See, the Rockefellers were so wealthy, they could hire a team just for their family. That's how they came up with the name family office, right? And I've been studying the Rockefellers for years, reading everything I could about how they preserved wealth across 7 generations, yes, 7. So when I had the chance to talk with and work with the person who was part of that team in coordination, I asked the question everyone wants to know. What's the secret? She said the Rockefellers weren't the first and they won't be the last to create a fortune. And many of the key executives that worked for the family and bet around them, they used the exact same system with success. See, because they created generational wealth too. So what made the Rockefellers and the people around them so different? How's their fortune lasted for 7 generations? Was it tax advantages or was it a certain type of investment they picked? What Sheila told me, she said it was a system. She said, we make sure everyone's on the same page and everything is working together. The Rockefellers build wealth in their business, and we leverage the system to protect and perpetuate that wealth. It was a system to protect the wealth. The Rockefellers build wealth with businesses, the system protects it, it preserves it, and perpetuates it. It wasn't some index fund, and there was no mention of budgeting or chasing risk. Protection. A system working properly, working together. A 7-generation fortune summed up in 3 words: protect, preserve, perpetuate. I wrote about this in What Would the Rockefellers Do? With over 2,700 organic Amazon reviews, because I've spent decades getting every aspect of finance handled with licensed professionals on my team like CPAs, attorneys, and insurance specialists. I've been creating a family office. That's been my mission and passion for people on the way up, entrepreneurs that normally wouldn't have access to it, because I think every entrepreneur deserves a family office. And I'm dedicating my life to that very pursuit. Now, before we go further, I want you to do this. Think about the last time your CPA and your attorney were on the same call, if ever. Having the same conversation with the same agenda. You don't have to play the game of telephone. Remember that one from grade school? Maybe this really ages me. But someone would whisper something and the next person would whisper it to the next person. And finally, at the end, they weren't even talking about anywhere close to the same thing. See, when your team's on the same page, it puts money in your pocket. You can save up to 15.3% in self-employment tax, or even sell your business for up to $15 million tax-free per partner after 5 years. But it takes an attorney and an accountant, and they got to be aligned. So stay tuned. I'll tell you exactly how to do this. But know this. Your attorney makes a massive difference with taxes. But if your CPA and attorney don't communicate, you will tip the government. So let's dive in, because ring 3 of the family legacy rings solves these problems and more. Most business owners have professionals. A CPA over here, an attorney over there, an insurance person somewhere else, a financial person they met at a dinner party. None of them talk to each other. That's not a team. That's a collection of strangers who each see 10% of your picture and give you 100% of their opinion. And their opinions are attached to how they get paid. Your CPA says, well, put in a retirement account. That makes him look like a hero for now. Your insurance person says, fund this insurance policy. Your attorney says, let's put it in a trust. Your investment person says, well, let me invest it for you. And nobody asked you what you actually wanted. I call this the buffet problem. You're paying full price for a buffet of options, and nobody's checking to see if the food's good or if it's what you want or even if it goes together. This happened to me. Before I knew any better, In my early 20s, my CPA said, well, set up a S Corp. My attorney said, no, let's do an LLC. They didn't know each other. And this is before I knew you could just choose an S election and an LLC. That would have solved the whole problem. But they didn't tell me because they did what they wanted, not what I wanted. It was at my expense. I overpaid tax. I paid hourly for the attorney and for the CPA. Multiple meetings, more than I wanted or needed in fees. Had to explain the mistake to the IRS. Eventually, I had to set up a new company just to get it right. Lost money, lost time, lost sleep. I thought the more people looking at my money, the better off I'd be, the safer I'd be. I was wrong. More professionals without coordination, it doesn't multiply your advantage, it multiplies your confusion. The answer was never hire more people. It was get the ones you have working from the same playbook. A family office is an ongoing system of coordination. A conductor who makes sure every professional is playing from the same sheet of music, not just once, but at every turn, with every major decision, every single life change. Think of your financial life like an orchestra. Right now, the violin is playing Mozart, the drums are doing jazz, and the trumpet's just improvising. Every musician's talented. Without a conductor, it's just noise. A family office has the conductor and a team of professionals. This way, you have everyone playing the same song. They're all pros working together. I even recommend you bring your kids to the meetings as soon as they're old enough to understand. Start the conversation, introduce them to the team. It's one of the best ways for them to understand what you've created, who will help them with it, and prepare them for the future. See, I wrote about all this in What Would the Rockefellers Do? I want to give you a free copy. Links in the description. It comes with a Legacy Builder toolkit so you can start building your own version of what I'm about to show you. So what does a family office actually do? Let's make it real. Most business owners are losing 10 to 15% of their income through cracks individual professionals can't see. Not because the professionals are bad necessarily, but because nobody's looking at the whole picture at the same time. When a coordinated team sits down and looks at your entire financial life together, they find money leaking in 4 areas: taxes, interest, investments, and insurance. This isn't small dollars like coupon clipping, it's major dollars that move the needle. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Clark and April, they had millions invested. Their financial advisor told them to refinance their house even though they were nearing retirement and put everything in stocks and bonds. No consideration for cash flow, which is what they were really looking for. Just this one-dimensional pile of risk. One strategy, all paying the advisor his 1% fee. So he pretended to diversify, but had them relying on one person's opinion because of his commission. First year, they lost $600,000. They were asset rich and cash flow poor. They had money on paper, but they worried constantly. When they finally told their advisor they wanted to make a change, you know what he said? Leaving would be your biggest mistake ever. Clark ended up throwing up. He felt sick to his stomach because that's not advice. That's a hostage negotiation. When they came to me, we didn't add a single new product. We didn't move their money in some exotic investment. We sat down as a coordinated team. CPA, attorney, insurance, investments, and we looked at the entire financial life at the same time. In one single day, we found $32,000 a month in cash flow from the choices they'd already made, but had been delaying. Not new money, money that was already there, hiding the cracks between paying too much in tax, because the professionals never talked to each other. We restructured loans to create more cash flow from their commercial properties. We paid off inefficient loans with their money markets and bonds that weren't earning as much as they were being charged. That's what coordination reveals. More cash flow, less risk. So let me show you the 4 areas where having a family office and coordination can find you money, because these are the same 4 areas leaking almost every single business owner's financial life. Taxes, more than 9 times out of 10, coordination starts here. Because this is where the biggest gaps are hiding. You've got a CPA filing your taxes. That's the floor, not the ceiling. There's a huge difference between tax preparation and tax reduction. Preparation's looking through the rearview mirror. Reduction's looking through the windshield. Are you taking advantage of your entity structure? If you're still operating as an individual sole proprietor, or you're only taking salary from an S Corp, you could be overpaying by tens of thousands. What about the Augusta rule, where you can rent your home to your business up to 14 days a year? Tax deductible to the business, tax-free to you. What about hiring your kids for legitimate work and paying them under the standard deduction? What about cost segregation on real estate? One real estate you already own that would allow you to take faster tax deductions rather than waiting for years. And then you can borrow against the real estate without tax, roll it to another property when you sell it without tax, or even use something called a charitable trust where you can sell it tax-free. If you want more, grab your copy of What Would the Rockefellers Do? Just link in the description. Let me give you another story. Molly, she's an only child. Just earlier this year, unfortunately, her dad was diagnosed with cancer, and she was concerned about getting her financial house in order as well as her father's. She found What Would the Rockefellers Do on Instagram, jumped into my multiplier program and community. Her results facilitator, Andrew, started working on her dad's trust and hers as well at the same time. Same strategy session, 2 generations, 1 coordinated plan. Guess what? Her father's going to offset over $1 million in income this year from the cost segregation alone. When he dies, there's a step up in basis, so you get the tax advantage, and then he gets to pass it on to his daughter without taxes whatsoever. The attorney got a trust that will keep the assets private and avoid going through the courts or making the assets public knowledge. A few moves that made a major difference. See, most people don't know these exist because their CPA never told them about it. It takes an engineer for cost segregation, an attorney to set up your trust or your corporation, a coordinated team that asks the right questions because they can see how your tax situation is impacted by what type of corporation you choose, by your insurance, by your legacy plan. And they can see how that all impacts your cash flow all at once. See, that's the tax leak. And a coordinator makes sure it gets found. So here's the test. Are you meeting proactively with your CPA or just filing what happened last year? By the way, if you don't know the answer, it's definitely the second one. Second thing here is interest. Every loan you have is either helping you or hurting you. And most people have never taken 20 minutes to look at their loans in one place and ask, what can I do about these? I teach something called the 3R framework: refinance, renegotiate, and reallocate. Refinance simply means changing the structure of a loan so it consumes less cash flow. Lower rates, longer amortization period, consolidate from high interest rate to low interest rate, right? Sometimes the fastest way to improve cash flow isn't paying off a loan, it's simply restructuring it. Maybe you have assets you can use as collateral to get a better interest rate. There's so many stories where this happens. You know, there's people all the time that have a whole life policy. They could borrow against it, pay off a high interest rate credit card, and they can pocket the difference. Or refinance a car to pay off, again, a high interest rate business loan, pocket the difference. When you have assets you can use as collateral, you get better interest rates. Maybe it's even a loan against a brokerage account, or again, against your cash value life insurance. The second R is renegotiate. Means questioning what you've been tolerating. Interest rates, fees that no longer reflect reality. Every dollar you overpay, it's a dollar lost. Renegotiation alone can create immediate returns that boost your bottom line. Without risk, there's no delay. I worked with a dentist that got a streamline on an existing mortgage, meaning he just got to lower his interest rate with the same company without having to pay all the closing costs of a refinance. See, good credit, good cash flow, good collateral, and good connections. Credit, cash flow, collateral, and connections. Those are the 4 C's to renegotiation. Now the last R, reallocate, means looking where your money's sitting idle. If you're earning 3% on savings while paying 8% on a loan, you've got cash flow every single month that's being lost. Paying off that loan, it's not being conservative. It's a guaranteed tax-free return that will increase your cash flow. Just had someone at my cash cabin experience where they were getting less than 2% on their Edward Jones account and paying 22% on credit cards. Easy choice. Let's save the money. So your mortgage lender doesn't care about your car loan company, they don't care about your business line of credit. Nobody's looking at all these together. Coordinated team looks at all of it and says, which loans do we refinance? Which fees do we eliminate or renegotiate? And where does money create the most cash flow? That's the interest leak. It only gets found when someone sees the full picture. So here's your test. Pull up your loans. For each one, ask, can I refinance at a lower rate or better terms? Is there something I've been tolerating I could renegotiate? Is there idle money somewhere earning less than what the loan's costing me? If you haven't asked all 3 questions about your loans, you're likely losing money with money that's going to the institutions instead of to your pocket. So let's go to investments. Most people think investing means putting money in the stock market and hoping it goes up. That's one-dimensional. The best investments do 3 things at once. They create cash flow, they build equity over time, and they provide real tax advantages. Again, when you have a coordinated team, that becomes easy because it's within reach. Trying to do too much on your own takes time and it steals your energy. If your financial person's chasing returns without considering your taxes, your cash flow, or what your business really requires, they're really going for their piece without seeing your whole picture. See, I want your dollar to do more than one thing. I want you to have more options to the future, more choices and less risk. A coordinated team makes that possible because they see how your investments connect to your tax strategy, how your insurance and your cash flow all impacts it at once. Plus, only 8% of managed funds outperform index funds. However, private funds have the opportunity to far out earn the stock market, but they also have a higher chance to lose everything. So where do you have the most control? Well, lowering fees, admin fees, legal fees, right, with retirement plans, expense ratios with investments, 12B1 fees with mutual funds, and fiduciary fees, which is that percentage you pay to your financial advisor, who all they did was collect the assets. They don't actually invest the money, they hand it to someone else. This 1 to 2% in fees can be 20 to 50% of your overall return because compound interest also has compounding costs. And those small percentages, they add up. So that's the investment leak. Your test, look at your biggest investment outside your business. Does it create cash flow, equity growth, tax advantages? If it only does one, you're stuck in a one-dimensional investment. Then think, do you know your fees and the impact on your funds? Or your mind if they go down, right? Do you have influence or knowledge? If not, you might be gambling your future and paying hefty with those fees. Finally, insurance. Nobody wakes up and says, let's talk insurance, but I'm going to put more money in your pocket. This one's sneaky because people either have too much of the wrong kind or not enough of the right kind. Your insurance person, they sold you a policy. Did they coordinate your deductibles with the amount of savings you have? Are there places you can more effectively cover certain risks through something like a captive insurance structure? That's basically setting up your own insurance company. It's like a C Corp, and in the tax code, it's either 831A or B. It just simply says, hey, I'm going to cover these things on my own, and then you can raise deductibles or replace insurances. And if you don't have a claim, you get to pocket the money. Plus, you get to invest it like an insurance company. Now, it's going to require an attorney or CPA, and you want your insurance professional to collaborate, but did your attorney look at an asset protection combined with your current coverage to protect what you built? Did your insurance person talk to that attorney? This is where a lack of coordination, not having a family office, costs people big time. See, insurance, it's not just protection, it's permission. When you're properly protected, you make bolder decisions. You invest with confidence. You sleep at night. When you're not protected, you play small. You hoard cash just in case. And that fear costs you more than any premium ever would. That's the insurance leak. And it only gets plugged when your insurance person, your attorney, and maybe even your CPA are in the same conversation. So your test, if something happened tomorrow, how much insurance would you get today? Probably as much as you can, right? We don't hate having insurance, we just hate paying for it. So how you design it makes a difference. See, when we put all these four together, taxes, interest, investments, insurance, each area on its own might be 2 or 3%. Might not even hardly notice it. But together, that's 10%, 15%, even 20% of money that's rightfully yours in someone else's hands. And here's the part that changes everything. That's money to fund your legacy, your trust, your family's future. It's already there. You don't find it by cutting back. You find it by plugging leaks. That's what a coordinated team does. Not once, not even once a year, but as a system that catches what no individual could ever do on their own. So let's go through the financial strengths builder. It's 5 questions. Be honest. When was the last time your CPA, attorney, and insurance person were in the same communication? If the answer is never, your team's obviously not coordinated. If the answer is once or years ago, that's still not coordination. That's a one-time event. Next, have you looked at all your loans in one place and asked 3 questions? Can I refinance, renegotiate, or do I have idle money I can reallocate to eliminate this loan, free up the cash flow, and have more peace of mind? If you haven't done that exercise, you might have a leak you can't see. Does your biggest investment outside of your business give you cash flow, equity growth, and tax advantages? If it only does one, you're leaving 2 dimensions on the table. And if something happened to you tomorrow, does your family know where every policy, every account, and every document lives? If not, your plan has a single point of failure. You. Look, here's a gift that you can just give. It doesn't require any money, just a little bit of time. I sat down with my wife and I said, hey, here's where every password is. Here's where every financial document is. What questions do you have? I want to make sure you know if anything happens to me, where everything is. And man, that gave her so much peace of mind. Now, final question. Do you feel like you're maybe paying too much in tax? By the way, if you do, DM me on Instagram. Just put the words tax navigator. I'll give you my comprehensive and complete checklist that my family office created for me. See, in the last video, I told you legacy isn't what you leave, it's how you live. Today, I showed you the system that makes it possible. Not the money, but the method, the coordination, and the team. You don't need hundreds of millions. You don't need to live in a mansion. You need one tradition on the calendar, 5 values your family wrote together, and a team that talks to each other not once, but as a system. If you don't know about the other family legacy rings, go watch the video that you can click right now. This right here is about the family office. But if you want a full financial deep dive on how the trust and whole life policy actually work mechanically, which is how the Rockefellers go from generation to generation, watch the Rockefeller method video next. I'll show you exactly how the engine runs. Legacy is not just what you leave. It's also how you live.